David Shaw here with another off-the-record story. If you want to learn more about Washington, D.C., come visit my site, offtherecordtours.com. Let's go. There's all sorts of myths and misinformation about Washington, D.C. out there, and today I'm going to try to clear up a little more of that, starting with the biggest myth of all, that Washington, D.C. was a swamp. Washington, D.C. was never, nor was it built on, a swamp.
Less than 1% of the land making up the original city could be described as swamp, and that was spread out over 6 separate locations.
Now, we do have a large number of spineless and swamp-like creatures that live here. And if you visited us in August, it might have felt a little bit swampy. But nonetheless, Washington, D.C. was never a swamp. There are a lot of reasons why people may have thought Washington was a swamp, because parts of it did get wet regularly. The Irish neighborhood Swamp Puddle was not idly named. It stood at the confluence of 2 tributaries to Tiber Creek and flooded often, just as the base of Capitol Hill did where the reflecting pool is today. LeDroit Park also saw streams of water coming down from the hills that saturate the ground, and when it rained here, all the roads were mud and they were a swampy mess. Nonetheless, Washington, D.C. was never a swamp.
The Willard is one of Washington's most luxurious hotels, and the home of another old D.C. myth. The story goes that the term lobbyist was coined by Ulysses S. Grant to describe the favor seekers that hung out in the Willard lobby waiting to see him. No, it didn't. While Grant may have enjoyed a cigar and a drink in these elegant surroundings, the term lobbyist dates to at least 1640. Its source is the central lobby of the Palace of Westminster, located between the House of Commons and the House of Lords. This is where constituents could meet with their members without an appointment.
I'm here on the Georgetown waterfront. Georgetown may have been named after George Gordon, who in 1745 established a tobacco inspection station here on the riverbanks. Or it may have been named after George Beale, who in 1751 sold 60 acres of his land to form what is now Georgetown. Or it may have been named after George II of England, who ruled the colonies at that time. One thing is for certain, it was not named after George Washington. If there's something you'd like to know about Washington, let me know. Leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Well, I hope you enjoyed that off-the-record story. If you want to learn more about Washington, D.C., things seen and unseen, arrange your tour of your nation's capital at offtherecordtours.com. Until then, I'm David Shaw.